What's up, my peeps? I'm here with another prediction game video. This time it's Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, a match that's going to take place this Sunday at Night of Champions, and a match that we saw this past Monday on Raw, surprisingly. I think a lot of us did not expect there to be a match before the Night of Champions match between these two. This was a first time ever match, so I was fully expecting it to take place at Night of Champions. So for the match to take place on Raw, that definitely caught me by surprise, especially with Roman Reigns picking up the win. Not necessarily Reigns, winning the match, but the fact that, there was no, disqualification or count out or anything like that. It was just Reigns, winning the match clean with a spear. There was no interference. The match didn't get put to a stop or anything like that. So it was, surprising and unusual, something you don't usually see. So it's pretty interesting. Now, it makes this match even more unpredictable. It was already an unpredictable matchup from the get-go, in my opinion. But I think this, the fact that they had a match on Raw just makes it even more unpredictable and a harder match to call. Now, after Reigns won the match clean, there wasn't a DQ, countout, or anything like that, I started to think about the reasons why, they had this match on Raw. And I was trying to, wonder, was this going to play into what happens at Night of Champions? There must be a reason why this match took place on Raw, and it didn't end in a no contest, DQ, or countout. And the first thing that popped in my mind was, alright, you know what? I think that Seth Rollins is going to win at Night of Champions. That's the plan, for Rollins to win. Rollins wins by, cheating or something like that. Kane interferes, or Rollins hits Reigns with a weapon or something like that with the ref's back turn, and he wins the match, basically not in a clean fashion. But to have Reigns still look strong, then they gave him this win on Raw. That was my logic. That's the way I saw things. So pretty much right after the match was over, I was like, okay, so I think Seth Rollins is going to win the match, or the rematch at Night of Champions. And that way they'll be 1-1. Reigns, with the win on Raw. Seth Rollins with the win at Night of Champions, but despite that win at Night of Champions, Reigns is still looking strong because Seth Rollins cheated to win, and also Reigns won against Seth Rollins when it was just one-on-one, no interference or anything like that. He beat him clean with the spear. But then I looked at the card, the Night of Champions card, and also my predictions for all the matches. There's 8 matches, and I've brought this up in, I think, one other prediction game video I made, or 2 other. There's 8 matches on the Night of Champions card. And out of those 8 matches, there's only, if I'm not counting this match, there's only one other match where I could see a face winning. And that match is the IC Championship match, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz. I think Dolph is going to win that match. But apart from that match, all the other matches, my predictions are heels. The guys I think, or the guys or the divas I think are going to win, are all heels. And for a pay-per-view to only have 2 face victories, or 1 face victory, well, actually 2, because I think, Reigns is going to win this one, it's pretty unusual. 1 face victory, even more. Usually you'll see, 3 faces winning on a pay-per-view, maybe 4, something like that. But, 2 faces only winning, that's a pretty low number. Now, of course, I could be wrong when it comes to my prediction. I could be wrong on all the matches I predicted. But I'm pretty confident in my picks, in my predictions. The hardest one I'd say to predict is Cesaro versus Sheamus, so Sheamus could win that match. My prediction, as it stands right now, is Cesaro for that match. But if Sheamus wins, then that would bump up the number of faces winning their match to 3 faces. But like I said, as it stands right now, my pick is Cesaro. So that right there, the whole, number of faces, only 2 faces winning at Night of Champions, That kind of made me think, and I was like, okay, maybe it's not this simple. Maybe it's not as simple as Reigns won the first match on Raw, and because of that, Seth Rollins wins the second match. Maybe Reigns wins the second match too, the rematch. And I definitely think that's a possibility. I mean, if it wasn't, or if I didn't think it was, then of course I wouldn't be picking Reigns. But, since Reigns split up with the Shield, he's been booked really strong. Even when he loses matches. He hasn't... I don't know if Reigns has lost a singles match since breaking up with the Shield. Since, splitting up with the Shield, I don't think we've seen Reigns get, like a pinfall loss or a submission loss. Definitely not a submission loss. We might have seen him maybe lose by DQ. I'm not even sure if he did lose by DQ or something like that. But bottom line, what I'm trying to say is Reigns has been booked really strong, and he's pretty much won every single match he's in. I mean, he even won a handicap match against Randy and Kane. Now, of course, Randy did ditch Kane in that handicap match and left him on his own, but still, it was still a handicap match versus Randy and Kane. And he beat Kane in a last man standing match. In like the Fatal 4-Way match he was in for the WWE Championship, or WWE World Heavyweight Championship, I should say, he wasn't pinned. His first pay-per-view match against Randy, he won. And just this past Monday, of course, he beat Seth Rollins, somebody who Dean Ambrose has been struggling to beat since the Shield split up. And speaking of Dean Ambrose, I could possibly see him getting involved in this match. I think he's going to be returning soon. I think it's either he returns this Sunday at Night of Champions or Raw the following night. So, could be at Night of Champions, could be on Raw. Personally, I think it's more likely we'll see Ambrose return on Raw. But, who knows, he could return at Night of Champions too. Actually, I want to ask you guys, do you guys think Dean Ambrose will return at Night of Champions? Tell me in the comment section below. Like I said, I think he's going to return Raw the next night. For some reason, that's just my feeling. That's what I'm thinking. But I wouldn't be too surprised if he does return at Night of Champions. And if he does, I definitely think he's going to go after Seth Rollins. Whether it be, going after Seth Rollins during this match, after this match, or maybe even Seth Rollins tries cashing in and then he stops him from cashing in. But I don't think Rollins is going to cash in that briefcase as long as Brock Lesnar is the champion, at least not successfully. So as far as Ambrose, getting involved and going after Seth Rollins, I think if it happens this Sunday, he returns this Sunday, then I think it's going to be during the match or after the match. I think maybe it's more likely to happen after the match, but it could happen during the match. What I could see is after the match is over, Kane comes out and they both attack Reigns, and then they set him up for, the curb stomp on the cinder blocks, just like they did to Ambrose, because Seth Rollins did say that at Night of Champions, he's going to take out Roman Reigns and finally end, the Shield. I could see them trying to hit the curb stomp on the cinder blocks, and then Ambrose music hits, crowd goes wild, and then Ambrose runs after Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins just runs away, runs through the crowd, and then like Roman Reigns spears Kane or something like that. I think that's a scenario that could definitely take place, but of course that is if Ambrose returns this Sunday. Personally, like I said, I think he'll be returning on Raw the next night. Now, another reason why I think Reigns, will win this match is because if he will be the one to take on Brock at WrestleMania, then of course, they're going to want Reigns looking strong. And at this point, I don't think Brock's going to be losing any one of his matches, at least until WrestleMania 31. And I have this feeling that it's going to be the same thing with Roman Reigns. I think they're going to mirror Brock with Reigns, where Brock, right now, I think he's going to remain undefeated, at least until WrestleMania 31, and I think it's going to be the same thing with Reigns, at least with pay-per-views. I think we're going to see Reigns remain undefeated on pay-per-views, so that way, when he does face Lesnar for the championship, it's going to be, he's going to be a more believable opponent for Lesnar. And on top of that, it's going to be a bigger match. It's going to be the 1-21-1 versus an undefeated Roman Reigns on pay-per-view. So then when it comes to the WrestleMania match between the two, people are not only wondering if Reigns beats the 1-21-1, they're also wondering, does Brock Lesnar break Reigns' undefeated streak when it comes to one-on-one matches on pay-per-views? But, of course, that is just a possible scenario. I don't think Reigns needs to be undefeated to take on Brock, but, it could happen. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, you can click that like button, and I'm out. See ya.